Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Well, the Paralympic Winter Games kick off today. It is the 50th anniversary of the Winter Paralympics. So from para ice hockey to wheelchair curling, why are the Paralympic Games important to you? And what sport are you excited to follow? That's first up. And Sunday is International Women's Day. We'll talk about women and entrepreneurship, with women owning 1 in 5 businesses in Canada. If you're a woman in business, let us know what's your experience and what advice would you want to share. That's after 12:30. I'm Michelle Elliott. Welcome to BC Today. The 2026 Milano-Cortina Paralympic opening ceremonies are happening now. They're kicking off the official games today. It is the 50th anniversary of the Paralympic Winter Games, and this year features a record number of athletes and medals. 50 Canadians will be competing in the games across the 6 sports being played. At the last Winter Paralympic Games in 2022, Canada placed 3rd in the standings with 25 medals. Now, Canada's flag bearers are para hockey captain Tyler McGregor from Forest, Ontario, and BC's own Natalie Wilkie, a para-Nordic skier from Salmon Arm. They are, though, watching with Team Canada, performing those duties virtually. And the games will run until March 15th. We're asking you, why are the Paralympics important to you? And what are you excited to follow at this year's games? You can call us now. Just hit pound 690 on your cell phone or dial 604-669-3733. That's 604-669-3733 or 1-800-825-5950. And you can also email us, bctoday@cbc.ca, or leave a comment on our TikTok Live. Joining me now is Donna Cumming, the Executive Director for SportAbility B.C. Donna, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling today?
Great. Yeah, I'm so excited about the start of the Paralympics today.
What is it that gets you most excited about the Paralympics?
I mean, I think for me, I kind of live parasport day to day on a local and provincial level, but it doesn't get the same amount of recognition all year long that I see it. So I think the Paralympics is just a really great opportunity for the rest of the world to see what some of us are doing in parasport kind of on a day-to-day basis, but of course on a much larger scale than what we would normally see.
Right, and the fact that the Paralympics have become more popular over the last decade, what impact has that had on awareness of parasports?
Yeah, I mean, there's been huge strides, a lot of progress. There's still, always a ways to go. I think for us in BC, when the Paralympics came here in 2010, that was a really big catalyst for growth in parasport across the province. Of course, when COVID hit, that caused some difficulties in the sports sector across the board, but I think parasport was hit a little bit harder. So having events like this, now that we're kind of on the other side of that, and we've seen regrowth and resurgence of a lot of our sports, it makes such a huge difference to have that visibility for everybody, because not everyone knows about the local program offerings that we have here in BC. So just having the opportunity to see it, and maybe that sparks some people to do a little bit more research and find out what's out there. So it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Let me put out our numbers again. We're asking you, as the Paralympic Winter Games kick off today, why do you feel that the Paralympics are important to you? And what is a sport that you are excited to follow? You can give us a call, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. And what difference does it make to have these Winter Games bring more visibility to parasports year round? Have you seen an interest? Are you interested yourself? Again, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. And so Donna Cumming is my guest, the Executive Director of SportAbility B.C. What have you seen a surge of interest or signups for adaptive sports in BC then?
I would say in para hockey in particular, our
Mm.
growth over the last couple of years has been pretty significant. Um, I'd say province-wide, there's a lot of interest. Some of our smaller sports, it can be a little bit more challenging. There are a lot of, barriers that different athletes face, but, that we're always working to mitigate those as much as possible. And I would say that across the board, there's always interest in adaptive sports. It's just finding the right ways to work with some of the challenges that our athletes face, and making our programs as accessible and inclusive as possible.
What are those barriers?
I would say some of the most significant ones would be cost. Adaptive equipment is very expensive. It's difficult for a lot of athletes who often are facing financial barriers, even just to get started in a sport because of the cost. And then accessibility is another really big one. We need accessible sports spaces in order to be able to run accessible programs, and a lot of ice rinks and gyms were built years and years ago before anyone was really thinking about accessibility standards. So that's another challenge that, we as programmers face in even getting those programs into place, some of those accessibility challenges. And then with travel as well, because parasport, you have a smaller demographic of people, and so it's more difficult to have programs in every possible region that you would want to have them. So it often involves travel to get to a program or to get to a competition, and transportation, accessibility of airplanes, hotels, all of those things kind of factor in. And it's something that, in mainstream sport, most people don't have to think about those things on a day-to-day, and that's just the daily lives of our parasport athletes.
We have an email from Lisa, bctoday@cbc.ca, and she writes that parasports should get a lot more funding as participants at the local level get more publicity as well throughout the year. What is the funding situation like?
It's challenging. It's definitely very challenging. We haven't had an increase across the sports sector as a whole. We haven't had an increase in core funding from a government level since, I want to say, maybe early 2010s or before 2010. So it's been over 15 years that funding has stayed fairly stagnant. And as we all know, everything has gotten more expensive, from travel to daily living expenses for individuals that want to participate in sport. And equipment, everything is just, the costs keep rising. And so for a lot of families and organizations, finding creative solutions and finding new funding streams, ultimately our goal is to avoid putting the financial burden back on the participants. We want to support them as much as possible. So looking for grant opportunities and things like that to help offset some of the costs. And then there's some really great programs out there too, like the Kids Sport program, that can support individual families that are facing financial barriers to be able to offset some of their registration costs, equipment costs, things like that. But yeah, it's challenging, definitely.
Let me put out our phone numbers again. We're asking you, as the Paralympic Games, Winter Games get started today, why are the Paralympics important to you? And what's a sport that you're looking forward to following over the course of the next few days? You can give us a call, 604-669-3733, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. If you have any comments as well on the accessibility and the funding concerns that have been raised by Donna, you can certainly give us a call on that as well. Our email, bctoday@cbc.ca. And Donna, you mentioned this interest rising in para ice hockey. What's a sport that you're looking forward to following?
Well, my organization's sport that's in the Winter Paralympics is para ice hockey. So that one's near and dear to my heart. So I'm very excited to watch that this year.
Yeah. And can you tell me a bit more about the players we should be looking out for?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tyler McGregor's a legend, as we all know, or as many people know. He's been in the sport for a very long time. Greg Westlake is making a comeback this year. He was coming out of retirement to do one last Paralympics. So that's definitely exciting. And yeah, there's so many great athletes on the team. We have Adam Kingsmill, who's out of Smithers, BC. He's one of the goaltenders. So that's some hometown pride for us here in BC. But yeah, it should be a great year. There's a really strong team going out, so we're excited to cheer them on. And we're actually we have our provincial tournament for para hockey at North Surrey Sport and Ice Complex on the weekend of the 14th and 15th. So we're going to be having a little gold medal game watch party on Sunday morning at the rink, which should be a really fun time.
Yes, that's awesome. What does it say to you, the success that Team Canada has had and the fact that this is a record number of athletes going this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show that the priorities are shifting. People are starting to get a better understanding of what the importance of parasport and having opportunities for everybody to be involved at that level. For the longest time, parasport wasn't really recognized in the same way, and I think we've made a lot of progress. Like I said, there's always more progress to be made, but I think it's really encouraging to see some of the steps that are being taken to be more intentional about access and inclusion for parasport athletes.
Let's take a call right now as we ask you, why are the Paralympics important to you? What sport are you excited to follow over the course of the Winter Games? Give us a call, 604-669-3733. 1-800-825-5950. My guest, Donna Cumming, Executive Director of SportAbility B.C. And Joseph is calling us now from Coquitlam. Hi, Joseph.
Oh, hi, Michelle. I love your Michelle. I listen to CBC overall. I actually from 5:30, Steve Quinn and Amy Bell.
Wonderful.
And to the end until I go to sleep.
Yeah. And so are you excited to watch the Paralympics?
Oh, absolutely. I just tell them I have a niece who's an amputee. And Michelle, you can't just imagine. We are originally from Africa, and we are into sports, especially Kenya. And my niece, she follows the hockey, even though that is like it's not a, I don't say considered, but Africa, it's like not the African game. So this is really motivating. She can't wait to see the opening and the equipment, particularly what she's interested in is what people use. Usually when the Paralympics begin, you'll see some wheelchair or something that you very often don't see.
How old is your
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
How old is your niece, Joseph?
She's 11.
Wonderful. That's so great to hear that this is something that's motivating and inspiring for her.
Absolutely, as we all inspired for her, and that is one of the things you always see too in equipment. I don't know where the people get, or somehow some kind of ingenious invention overcoming the disability, or your disability. So I actually like it, and I watch it, and my niece watches, and as a family, we are happy to see this.
Joseph, so great to hear from you. Thank you very much for the call.
Have a wonderful afternoon.
Say hello to your niece for me, okay? That's Joseph in Coquitlam. Lynn is next now from Victoria to talk about the importance of the Paralympic Games. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Michelle. Yes, I just think it's important because illness and accidents can happen to anyone. And it's important to show that there is life after these, that there is active living even after these incidents happen. People don't have to just crawl away. They can continue their active life in a different manner.
Lynn, thank you so much for the call from Victoria as well. Our numbers again, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. Why are the Paralympic Games important to you? And what sport are you looking forward to following? Donna, who's joining me, Donna Cumming, Executive Director of SportAbility B.C. What do you make of those comments from our callers?
Yeah, I guess a couple things come to mind. Joseph's comments about the equipment it definitely resonates because I think a lot of people just don't know the first thing about adaptive equipment, and it is really, really complicated. Like that's such a huge part of adaptive sport is the equipment is so important and it's extremely technical and very nuanced. You know, a lot of people who get into it like that, it makes such a difference to their development and their training to be able to kind of tweak and adjust, like in para hockey, making the right adjustments to your sled. It makes such a huge difference in performance. So that's definitely a really great note from Joseph, and something to keep an eye on when you're watching the Paralympics is just pay attention to some of the adaptive equipment that they're using. And you know, that's again kind of comes back down to some of the cost barriers that people face. It's
Right.
it's very, very high tech gear once you get up to that level. So that's a really interesting piece of parasport. And then to Lynn's comment as well, I just, you know, that resonates with me as well. I've had many athletes, you know, we have athletes that come to us from a variety of different circumstances. And sometimes it is people who have had accidents, who have acquired disabilities. And, you know, we often hear from our athletes, this sport changed my life, or this sport kind of brought me back some sense of purpose, community. And that's one of the most important things about what we do. And one of the reasons that, you know, I'm so passionate about the work that we do is you can really see the difference that that these sports are making and that the community makes in these athletes' lives, and people who have, you know, been through difficult times and have come out sort of stronger on the other side and have sport as, you know, in part to thank for that.
Yeah, and to see them shine on the world stage, for sure. That's it. Take another call, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. Why are the Paralympics important to you? And John is up next now in Vancouver. Hi, John. Go ahead. Thanks so much for calling.
Hi, good morning. Thanks for having me.
What is it about the Paralympics that are important to you?
Yeah, first of all, shout out to all para-athletes and those representing Canada in particular. Go Canada, go.
That's right.
Paralympics are so important to me is even more than the regular Olympics and the able-bodied athletes, it to me epitomizes the resilience and strength of the human spirit. And I think about para-athletes and all the headwinds that they have to endure in order to succeed. I think it's amazing and totally admirable.
John, really great to hear from you. Thank you so much for the call. Donna, it's interesting you talk about that resilience. What role does that play when you're working with these high-level athletes, right? Like what support is there for the mental well-being, for that resilience?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And I would say once athletes get to kind of a higher level of competition, like at a national team level, they may have more access to sort of mental health supports and things like that. But really when they're starting out, it's all kind of, for a lot of them, they have to find that on their own and find their own support systems. And I think sometimes that comes from the community, just having that community support and having other people that they can connect with who may have similar lived experiences. I think that can be healing for a lot of people. But I think there's a lot more that could be done for especially athletes who are starting out or people who are sort of at a lower level of development. Being able to access more of a holistic training program that includes supports like mental well-being, those aren't really in place at the moment at more of a local or provincial level.
I see. What do you think can be done to improve that?
I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to funding, which is always I never like to start there because it's not the easiest solution. But I think, yeah, more funding supports and more support in the healthcare system for individuals that are, a lot of the time they have to go through a rehab program, and then it's, once you're past that, it's back kind of integrating into society, and that can be, I think, challenging for a lot of people. But yeah, I don't know that there's necessarily an easy solution to it, but definitely having those community spaces, that's somewhere that at least that support from others in the community, peer mentorship programs, those types of things. There's a few of those out there. Spinal Cord Injury BC has a really great peer mentorship program. We've also started an athlete ambassador program through SportAbility. So that's, one way that we're trying to introduce new people to our athletes and kind of have these role models in the community that they can see, who have, they can share their stories and their experiences, and just really connect with new people coming into sport.
Really want to read this email from Kim in Vernon. Kim, I really appreciate your writing in. When the Olympics came to Vancouver in 2010, I had the honor of taking my little sister to the Paralympics that year. She was a huge sledge hockey fan, so we tried to get tickets to the gold medal sledge hockey game. We scored a pair, but were quickly disappointed to find out that all the wheelchair seating was already taken. My sister was a wheelchair user, so accessible seating was paramount. We decided to go see the curling event instead, but I regret not showing up to the sledge hockey game anyway. I mean, what would they have done? They couldn't turn a teenage girl in a wheelchair away at the Paralympics? Not likely. Isn't it interesting that at the Paralympics, accessibility is still an issue? She passed away in 2012, so I feel lucky to have that wonderful memory. In spite of our issue, it was still somewhere my sister was able to see those like her represented and honored. And most of Vancouver made itself completely wheelchair accessible for the event. I wish it could be like that all the time. Kim, thank you so much for writing in. And I'm sorry for the loss of your sister. Thank you so much for writing that story. And Donna, what do you take from Kim's email?
Yeah, I mean, I completely can understand where that's coming from, and we see it all the time. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality of the facilities and what we have access to. And I think it's really, really important. There's lots of great organizations out there like the Rick Hansen Foundation that have programs and funding available to retrofit buildings, to make improvements to accessibility. And I think it's something that cities and municipalities need to really think about and prioritize. You can't have accessible programs without accessible spaces. And it's something that we run into on a nearly daily basis, that facilities are just not up to an accessibility standard that works in our society. And a lot of cities are doing great work and are really working hard to make improvements and, do the best that they can to adapt, whether it's new facilities or retrofitting old buildings. But there's still a long way to go. And there's so many buildings and so many sports spaces out there that are not accessible.
Such an important conversation, and this is what gets highlighted, right, during the Paralympic Games, along with the excitement of the sports themselves. Donna, so great to speak with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Enjoy the games. Donna Cumming, Executive Director of SportAbility B.C. It's 12:30 now. This is BC Today here on CBC. I'm Michelle Elliott. Very nice to have you along with us. And coming up in our next half hour, we're going to talk about International Women's Day. And in light of that, about women and entrepreneurship. And 1 in 5 Canadian businesses is owned by a woman. So we'll talk about what the challenges are, what the barriers are, and what advice you would like to share if you're a woman in business. More of that conversation coming up in the next half hour. Right now, it is time for a CBC News update. Here's Rob Zimmerman.
Good afternoon. Police have rescued a woman and arrested a man after chasing down a yacht in what they say were heavy seas and winds off the coast of Vancouver. It happened yesterday morning when police received a 911 call from the woman who reported being assaulted. They say a Vancouver police vessel then did a pace and pin maneuver to get alongside the moving yacht in waters off Point Grey. Police say they found guns on the 12-meter boat, and they are looking at charges of assault and forcible confinement. 2 people are facing a combined 34 firearms charges in a joint investigation across several cities in the Lower Mainland. Mission RCMP say a 49-year-old man from North Vancouver has been charged with 18 offenses, while a 43-year-old Vancouver woman faces 16. The Mounties did not provide specifics on any of the charges. And Surrey police are searching for a driver who struck 2 pedestrians before leaving the vehicle and fleeing. It happened overnight near 88th Avenue and Nordell Way. One of the victims was initially in critical condition, but has since stabilized. And now the forecast. A rainfall warning is in effect for the Central Coast, and wind warnings are in place for the Peace region. On the North Coast, rain this afternoon with strong winds and a high of 8. In the Central Interior, including Prince George, rain with a high of 8 as well. Highs from 9 to 12 and mainly cloudy this afternoon in the Kootenays. In the Southern Interior, including Kelowna, a few showers with a high of 11. And for Metro Vancouver, Greater Victoria, and the Fraser Valley, periods of rain this afternoon with highs up to 10. That's your CBC News update from Vancouver.
Rob, thank you. Don't forget to spring forward on Sunday.
I will not, for the last time.
For the last
Very
time.
exciting.
It is a little bit momentous, isn't it?
I suppose it is.
It's just shed a tear.
We
as
don't
we
really
do it.
actually do anything, though, right?
No,
I mean, we don't actually change the clocks because it just does it automatically.
It's true. I do have a couple still that I manually, turn and make sure it's right.
The one on the stove usually you have to do, right?
The one on the oven. Yeah, maybe take a selfie or something to commemorate the occasion.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah,
but
maybe not.
Good idea.
Or just move on like the rest of everybody else. Thank you, Rob.
Sure.
That's Rob Zimmerman in the CBC Vancouver newsroom. And yes, this Sunday, British Columbians will change our clocks for the last time as BC moves to year-round daylight saving time. Well, most British Columbians, that is. Some Eastern BC communities, as you know, already had a different practice from the rest of the province. People in the Peace already observed Mountain Standard Time year-round, so that means they'll be aligned with the rest of BC. Meanwhile, in the Southeast, communities currently switch between Mountain Standard Time and Mountain Daylight Time in line with Alberta. Now, they will continue to do so, but some residents are wondering, should the Kootenays stay aligned with Alberta or follow BC's new time zone? Amber Wang from CBC there spoke with residents in Cranbrook about what they think.
I think that Canada should all stay on the same time. Make those guys out east wake up earlier.
Yeah, to stay with like Calgary time and stuff like that, as opposed to Vancouver time.
I would rather us not stay with Alberta time. I think it's cooler that if we have our own little time.
Most of British Columbia is doing away with seasonal time changes, with a move to permanent daylight saving time, now known as Pacific time. But the change does not apply to the East Kootenay, where the communities will remain on mountain time and continue changing their clocks every spring and fall.
I definitely feel that we may have gotten left out of the decision. I know even in the map itself, we are kind of off in the little nook.
It was a big shock when I saw it online yesterday that all of BC is changing, which is not correct. We were left out.
Some residents say the region's connection to Alberta makes the issue more complicated.
It just seems more logical because we seem to be more connected with the east and with the west side here. So,
with BC moving towards permanent daylight saving time, Alberta has said it may soon consider doing away with time changes as well.
I'm hoping that Alberta follows BC's lead and that they will also do the no more time changing things so that we can stay in sync with Alberta and BC in that way.
And local leaders in the East Kootenay say they will soon be discussing whether they want to join the rest of BC and switch to Pacific time. For some residents, the bigger issue is how the time change affect their daily routines.
Time should not be changing so often.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. That makes it too difficult.
Yeah.
Others say the simplest solution would be to keep the same time all year.
I heard the study show that it causes lots of negative impact on people's life. It causes heart attack, depression.
I honestly think that we should just all do the same thing, make it life simple, and there's bigger things to worry about than time changes.
Amber Wong, CBC News, Cranbrook.
Thank you so much, Amber. And thanks to all those folks who shared their thoughts too in Cranbrook. A lot of emails from you around the province on BC ending the time change and moving to daylight saving time. Brent writes from Quadra Island, with all the hype about health benefits of Mountain Standard Time, it seems they did not consider the health benefits of cutting the winter gloom, of not seeing the sun for days on end. People working indoors often go to work in the dark and go home in the dark. Then in BC, it may be overcast on weekends for weeks at a time. Bruce writes, daylight saving time is the only option in my mind, as I have lived in both times for over 80 years, and for the winter, it is the most sensible option. Due to the fact that people use more natural gas on standard time, less gas in their vehicles, accidents are less frequent due to better visibility on the commute home when one is tired after the working day. Thank you very much for that. Diane writes, living in Terrace, we don't need more time in the evening, but we do appreciate having an earlier sunrise in the winter. We are happy now. Please don't make us change now. And Dorothea writes from Wells, for my part, I'm quite happy BC is moving towards the same time all year. I'm fine with daylight time year round, though if the decision was continual standard time, I'd have been fine with it as well. Just stop the disruptive twice a year clock change. I've spent part of my life in Saskatchewan, and being on the same time all year is definitely preferable in my view. The reality is that in winter in many parts of Canada, we only have limited hours of daylight in the winter. Further north in BC, it's getting dark already mid-afternoon on standard time. So the issue is, when do you want your daylight hours? I'll add I've lived in Inuvik, north of the Arctic Circle, for a few years with no sunrise for a few weeks. People adjust. Thanks for all of your emails. bctoday@cbc.ca. And yes, don't forget to change your clocks on Sunday. If you still do, you could just look at your phone and it'll tell you what time it is. Maybe take a selfie. It's 12:38 now. This is BC Today here on CBC. And Sunday as well is International Women's Day. So today on the show, we wanted to look into women entrepreneurs. According to StatsCan, women own 1 in 5 businesses in Canada. So if you're a woman running a business, we would love to hear from you. Give us a call. Let us know, what is your experience and what advice would you want to share as a woman entrepreneur? Love to hear from you. 604-669-3733. Again, 604-669-3733 or 1-800-825-5950. You can also hit pound 690 on your cell phone, or our email is bctoday@cbc.ca. I have 2 guests with me for this conversation. Lori Joyce is CEO and founder of Better Acres Ice Cream in Victoria. Melanie Rupp is Senior Director of Loans and Advisory Services at BC, and that's a not-for-profit supporting women business owners in the province. Hello, good afternoon to you both.
Hello, Michelle. Thank you for having us.
I'm thrilled
Hi, girls.
I'm so glad to have you on. Thank you. Lori, I'd love to start with you and hear your story. How did you come to start Better Acres Ice Cream?
Oh, it's ultimately the decision was made by my son, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
I was born and raised in Victoria, grew up on a farm, and he was probably 4 years old at the time and loved strawberry ice cream. And as a mom, I found it very challenging to find a clean label, all natural ice cream. And one day, shopping in my local grocery store, I was reading the ingredients and, I thought I was buying ice cream, but nowhere on the container did it actually say ice cream. It was called frozen dessert. And as a food entrepreneur already, and as a mom, I just was really honestly, my gut reaction was I felt really betrayed as a customer, confused. And growing up on a farm, for me, it was like, I know how to make ice cream. And I just saw that as an opportunity immediately.
As you mentioned, you are a seasoned entrepreneur, even by then, because you were involved in the Cupcakes bakery chain store, right? So, okay, you had the experience, but I'm so curious about that. When people have a love for the product, you know, the passion for it, but then they turn that into a business. How do you do that? How do you cross that bridge?
Oh, you just do it. I think that's the only answer I have. I mean, my best friend and I at the time, when we started Cupcakes, we were in our mid-20s, and it was literally the best idea that we had at the time. And being typical girlfriends and best friends that grew up together in Victoria, we had brainstormed 1,000 ideas, and we were just sick and tired of not executing on any of them. And so Cupcakes seemed to be the right time. We just couldn't sleep. You know, it kept us up at night. And it wasn't about putting together a business plan. I'm sure Melanie doesn't want to hear this. It was just about doing it. And I think within 3, maybe 4 months, our store was open. And, you know, once you become an entrepreneur, there's no going back.
Wow. Okay, I'd love to hear more about that. And Melanie, so what do you take from Lori's comments there? What resonates with you?
Oh, I just love the passion of the woman entrepreneur and Lori in particular. And I remember hearing Lori on a panel, which I watched like a YouTube recording of it. And I remember with her cupcake shop, she was saying, our plan is to start 5 stores in 5 years and make $5 million in revenues. And she said, we rented this space down on Demon Street and had no idea how to make cupcakes. And that's just the kind of passion that women entrepreneurs have often. They just see a need and they're going for it. I will say Lori did make the 5 years, but it took her 4 years, according to her story, to do the first one. And then once they got the sort of the model, then they were able to go boom, boom, boom and open up the 5 years and meet their target. So women, they set goals, they're scrappy, they're determined, they're resilient, and they make it happen.
What are the biggest challenges they face?
Well, the biggest one is funding their dreams. WeBC is really proud to be doing a project with the federal government through the Wage and Women and Gender Equity Ministry on working with financial institutions, because we know from our research, and it's duplicated by other research, that 75% of women know they need to borrow funds, but only 34% are comfortable going into a financial institution. And so working with small business lenders, and in particular working with Van City, who's really taken the lead on this, to offer a women entrepreneurship program to make capital, both credit cards, lines of credit, and term loans more accessible. They have opened up a lot of lending, millions and millions of dollars in lending to women entrepreneurs. And we're trying to get other financial institutions around the province and hopefully nationally to see the potential of women entrepreneurs, because they are good for the financial services business. But having said that, there are times when financial institutions can't help women with loans. And so that's where a development lender like WeBC comes in. We're been around for 30 years, providing loans, 5-year term loans up to $150,000 for majority owned and controlled businesses, or it can be 50-50 owned with a spouse. And we look at the business plan and the viability to see, is this woman set up for success in her business, and based on the strength of her business plan and the viability of the business, then we can lend against that.
Let's take some calls now. We are asking you, if you're a woman in business, what has been your experience and what advice would you like to share with others as a woman entrepreneur? Give us a call now, 604-669-3733. Again, 604-669-3733, 1-800-825-5950. My guests are Melanie Rupp, Senior Director of Loans and Advisory Services at WeBC. That's a not-for-profit supporting women business owners. And as well, I'm joined by Lori Joyce, who's a CEO and founder of Better Acres Ice Cream in Victoria. Kirsten is joining us from Saanich. Hi, Kirsten. Thanks for calling in.
Hi, thank you for having me.
What did you want to share?
So for context, I'm a registered massage therapist, and I've been lucky enough to practice for 11 years this June. And one of the biggest things that I benefited from in business is having a mentor and being mentored throughout my career. So to that, I would strongly encourage those who are just beginning in whatever business venture they choose is to seek out a mentor and gently remind those that have been in their businesses for long enough to be mentors themselves. And I believe that a rising tide lifts all ships, and therefore it should be everybody's responsibility to help those that are freshly starting in their ventures.
What a great piece of advice, Kirsten. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mentorship. That's Kirsten joining us from Saanich. Lori, how important is mentorship?
It's what Melanie is to me. I definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the community and the mentorship. But I mean, women entrepreneurs are a very unique breed, right? We're all there for each other. So it's essential. I definitely agree.
Wow, Melanie, what an endorsement there. You're Lori's mentor.
It's so a privilege to work with Lori and to walk alongside her and be a support and a sounding board. And at WeBC, mentorship is one of our key pillars. We do offer a number of mentoring programs from one-on-one to peer mentoring groups. And again, we know from our research that it's not just the capital that women need, but it's the wraparound supports, including mentorship. And you can find a mentor through formal programs, but you can also find mentors informally, maybe people that you know in your community. I find other entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs as well as men, are very comfortable talking to up-and-coming entrepreneurs. So if you're new in your business, don't be afraid to reach out and ask somebody that you admire for 15 minutes or a coffee and just ask them a couple of questions and get some input from them.
And so, Lori, yourself, I mean, you're a veteran now, right? In entrepreneurship. What's a piece of advice you'd like to share with people who are just starting?
And if I can, Michelle, I just want to add to that comment about what Melanie just made.
Sure.
Entrepreneurship has this perceived glamour, and entrepreneurship is actually really painful. Yeah. And so people like Melanie are the reason why I'm going to speak on behalf of myself, but I think this is going to touch a lot of entrepreneurs in general, women and men, is if it isn't for people like Melanie that take our calls on those really dark days, they're really the fuel that keeps us going. And I know, Melanie, right now you're remembering that car ride. And it's a good thing this is on radio because I'm going to tear up in a minute. But there's people like Melanie are the reason why we were actually able to go forward. And I'm not speaking on a financial perspective. It's like they really understand what we're going through, and they're there to take our calls and to have coffee or dinner. Because there's a lot of times in the journey of being an entrepreneur where you actually feel like no one gets you. And the most important thing is surrounding yourself with people that actually not only get you, but remind you that you can do it. And so I'm going to just say thank you, because I know that there's people listening, and I just want Melanie to take some credit for that. So thanks for giving me this opportunity to. I'm
your number one fan. I love what you're doing. I love your ice cream. I love your vision. I know. I so believe in you.
This is so wonderful to watch. And I'm sorry, Laura, I actually do want to stick with this now because it's just fascinating and probably something people can relate to. Are you able to share with us just, what questions you did have? What were some of those things you were struggling with, as far as you're comfortable?
Oh, I'm an open book. I think that's you're not doing this alone, right? So you have to be willing to share because we're human. But the specific phone call that I'm referring to is I was building out the store. It took a lot longer because you have to, at the very early days, you're scrappy. You have to be, right? And so you're trying to figure out and you're building this out. And of course, you put together a budget, but there's always these unexpected delays or costs. And I remember Melanie and I talking on a Sunday. I'll never forget this phone call because we essentially had our first rent due, meaning that we had taken a little too long to build up the store. And I had no idea how I was going to come up with the rent portion, which was about $6,000. And, Melanie she was silent on the other end and just listening and giving me the space. And I was afraid. I was terrified because, you might think I'm seasoned, or maybe by definition I'm seasoned because I've been in this for 20 years. But when I launched Better Acres in Victoria, that was a year and a half ago. So it's like starting fresh again.
Yeah.
And I finished kind of on my rent, and Melanie just was like, so you need $6,500. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, all right, okay, let's figure out how we can get you $6,500. Right. And it was just like, there's certain people that really are, that really help you get to that other side. And, for a lot of people listening, $6,500 isn't a lot of money, but sometimes $10 is a lot of money, right? So it's all in perspective, and like just having someone that is there to help you get through that next day and help you solve your problem it's another reason why we continue running through this crazy entrepreneurial journey, which is full of heart, right? And I think that's what makes the difference as to and I'm so surprised by the stat, how you opened this show, that it's 1 in 5 women. We need to change that.
1 in 5 Canadian, Stats Canada.
Yeah, that's shocking to me.
And so, Melanie, when someone calls you like that, feeling desperate, what are the things that someone like yourself, like a mentor, can say? What was it that you said that made a difference?
Well, I would say it's not so much what you say, it's that you listen and without judgment, hear them, let them speak, just be there and hold space for them and show up for them and always be there for them. Like when I see Lori Joyce's name on my phone, it's like, oh yeah, I'm getting this one. And I actually do that for all entrepreneurs. We're just there for them and holding space. And I tend to just be out in community and out and about, that I see interacting with entrepreneurs where they are at. I go to a lot of the craft shows and farmers markets, just to say, oh, hi, I'm here, and then they see me and they go, oh yeah, I should call her. I should call WBC, or I should check in with my mentor. Even if it's not me, it can be somebody else. There's a really strong ecosystem supporting women entrepreneurs, and there's a lot of support out there. So holding space and listening, and then, we don't have all the answers. There's no magical solution that we can fix in that moment. We're there to maybe brainstorm, maybe we can make a connection, maybe we can, explore different ideas and see what might work. Maybe we can throw out ideas the entrepreneur hasn't thought about. It's really just working together to say, okay, how are we going to get through this? I see that a lot with women entrepreneurs. It's their community that gets them through the tough times. When we have a lone client and we see them going through tough times, I'm always checking in with their, how's your community? I'm following them on social media, on Instagram, to see, is the community rallying around them? Because then I know that they're going to get through it. None of them do it alone. I also don't do this work alone. I work all of the staff at WeBC is so passionate about supporting women entrepreneurs. They're amazing. And then all of our partners in the ecosystem, same, just so want to see women achieve their dreams.
Let me ask you, because I know it's fascinating. You mentioned that you speak with people at craft fairs, and again, as we heard from Lori, things that they're passionate about and turning that into business. As we look at the kind of job uncertainty around us right now, or people just needing another source of income, a new source of income, can you tell me, Melanie, how you make the case for someone to actually pursue entrepreneurship?
Well, I guess I can give you a story of an entrepreneur that I met in my community at a farmer's market. And there's a lot of stalls around, but there was just something about this entrepreneur. She was a woman, and there were other women entrepreneurs with stalls beside her. But she just had a sort of a professional approach. She was doing a beverage. And I walk around, give her my card. But I didn't give it to the one next door because she was more just kind of making things at home and selling it at a Christmas craft fair. She might only do it once a year. I get chatting with them to find out, is this kind of a one-off, or is this like Lori, where she saw a need with her son and she created a product that other people wanted, and I could see the potential for her. And yeah, she's in Save On Foods now.
Oh, and so that's the difference, right? Is that kind of that approach that made a difference to you?
Yeah, you can kind of get sort of their motivation, and there's a little bit of it.
Okay, I have about 1 minute altogether. Lori, one piece of advice that you'd like to share?
Ooh, to all the women that are listening that want to start their own business.
Yeah.
Oh, don't listen to everyone around you. Someone wise told me recently, we're the 20%, the 80% don't get us. So you're going to have a lot of, partners or friends or family that can't relate and don't understand. But if you have an idea that's like, just, you can't stop thinking about it, and it gets you super excited and it distracts you and keeps you up at night, I would say I started cupcakes in 2002. And then I just started this recently. It is the